Coach James, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you coach at, what you do. Kind of give us a background so we have something to work with here.
So, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. A little bit about Cleveland, Ohio for people who might not know. We go by this saying, nothing is given and everything is earned. It truly is. And I started running track when I was in middle school. So that's when I started my track career. And then I continued throughout high school and then college. I attended a school by the name of St. Edward's High School. It's a college prep, private all boy school. Fun fact, a little bit about St. Ed's. We actually have the most state championships in the state of Ohio. We got 78 state championships and 11 national championships. So I came from a program, if you want to call it that. Then I ended up going to the University of Mount Union. I played football and I ran track when I was in high school. Then I did the same thing when I was at Mount Union. I studied sports management and business administration while I was there. I was part of two national championship football teams. We got 13 national champions. We got the record for the most national championships in all of NCAA Division III. So, people want to probably say, "Oh, it's Division III," but I promise you, we play some D1 teams. We smacked some D1 teams, and I say that because we ran against some D1 teams and we smoked them all. The teams that we competed against. My senior year, we actually had the fastest 4x1 relay team in the entire state. We beat Ohio State, all the other Big Ten schools, or whatever. So it was pretty cool to be part of that. I was a national champion in the relay team. I ran with Pierre Garcon, so you might remember that name. He played for the Indianapolis Colts. If that name,
Yeah,
rings the bell.
yeah.
I was part of, I qualified for NCAA's 4 times throughout my career. And I juggled football and track, and I was a little hard-headed. Going back, I probably would have just focused more on track, just the love of track and just understanding that you actually control more of your destiny. But I was hard-headed, and I thought that I was going to be a professional football player. Tried my hardest to be a professional football player, but God just had a different plan for me. So that was a little bit about what I did. I actually, let's see, indoor, I ran 55 meters. I was more of a short sprinter. Everything from 55. We only did 55 in D3.
Okay.
So 55 meters to 300 meters. And I did long jump too. Outdoor, I did the 100, 200, 400, 4x1, 4x4. So, but coach, it took a lot to get me to do that 400 or 4x4.
Yeah,
Funny story. I remember my senior year, qualified for the 200 meters to run at nationals in our relay team, 4x1. And it was our conference meet. And I was one of the captains. So, you know how it is when you run track. The whole day is over with when you're done with the events you knew you were going to do.
Right,
And
right.
the way my coach knew me, I told him I need at least a 48-hour advance notice if you need me to run the 4x4. Well, one of the other captains, something happened with Jeremy Villiquette. That's his name. I remember it to this day. And I think he might have pulled a something happened, but I'm in the chill mode right now. Clothes on, I'm ready to get on the bus. We're kicking it. Coach comes up, Coach Holman. He's in the Hall of Fame. Just got inducted into the Hall of Fame not long ago. John Holman. He came up to me. He said, "Cunningham, you're running the 4x4," and he walked away. I followed him so quick. I'm like, "Coach, I ain't running the 4x4." He's like, "If you don't run it, I'm not letting you run a 200 at nationals." And he was serious because a year before that, he did not let us run the 4x1, and we qualified to run at nationals because one of the hurdlers, he decided that he wanted to just focus on the 4x1 instead of running the 110 hurdles at nationals. And he was mad, so he didn't let us run it. I was like, "Oh my God." But anyways, he made us run it. We would, I mean, I walked this guy down so bad. And the messed up part, I remember it to this day. Bishme, I was third leg, and Bishme, I gave it to him. Caught like 3 people. this dude got us disqualified. So Bishop, if you ever see
Mm.
this, I'm still mad at you. I was so man, the lactic acid buildup. I was ready to finish all conference and all that. But yeah, I didn't really like doing the 400 or the 4x4, but I was strong enough and conditioned enough that I could.
I got you. Well, it seems like we have a lot of crossover here in terms of all of us on the call because Coach is also from Cleveland, and
Yes, we'll have to talk once we, yeah,
Hold
because
on,
I don't
I didn't
want
know
to
he
take
was
up.
from Cleveland. You from Cleveland? What?
yeah, and then I
Hey,
Yeah,
played.
I'm like,
I
I don't want to take, I was like, yeah, we'll have to after we.
yeah, we definitely got to chop it up, Coach. I didn't know you was from Cleveland.
yeah, and
Yes,
then we
okay.
have a similar. Like I did the football track thing in college, so yeah, I know how that goes. Huh,
Yes,
It wasn't
interesting.
absolutely.
easy. I had to, I try and sometimes I try and get Sienna to understand juggling, being a two-sport athlete and I worked on campus and off campus. It
Mhm.
was a lot, and I had to like shift my weight. So football, I always went up like 10 more pounds, and then track season, I had to cut like 10 because you can't be on the track weighing a little bit too much. So it
Yeah,
wasn't the easiest, but I made it work.
Yeah,
I
you won't
got
be
you.
able to move. So, Coach, how did you get in? Well, we can clearly hear your passion
Sure.
for not only football but track, which is why we're here today. So, what brought you to wanting to coach?
I never really like truly wanted to coach, although I was so blessed that throughout all of the sports I participated in from high school through college, every single one of my coaches are inducted into the Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
respectively, for either my high school track coach, my high school football coach, my college football coach, and my college track coach. They're all in the Hall of Fame. So I was blessed and fortunate to have been coached by some amazing individuals, but I never really wanted to get into coaching. And the way it happened, it's an interesting story. So this was back in what 2017, and when Sienna first started running track, it was with Fisher's Fire. Their
Mhm.
club still exists,
Yeah.
and it was her first year running. And the sprint coach, something happened. I don't know what happened to the sprint coach. Well, long story short, we happened to be at practice, and they let us know the news. They pointed at me, Val, and Vic, and they basically involuntarily forced us to start coaching. So whatever happened, and they lost their sprint coach. That's when we decided to like start to truly help out with the sprint core group. And we eventually broke off from Fisher's Fire, and we started Soka Speed back in 2019.
Mhm.
And when we started Soka Speed, it was 38 athletes from the area, primarily majority Fisher's kids. And then at our first Junior Olympics, we had 14 medals that we got. Two people were national champions, and we had 7 All-Americans, and we were proud of that, And more than anything, though, we knew that we were playing a role in contributing towards continue to put Indiana on the map when it comes to track and field, because
Mhm.
Indiana is like one of them states where I feel like it's slept on. I don't think enough college coaches understand the talent that we truly have in this state, but they're starting to take notice, So that was then. I mean, this past year, fast forwarding, 5 years, we had 78 national qualifiers for the USATF, and we had 11 people qualify for AAU nationals. And I feel like we represented Indiana very well. We earned 16 medals, including 2 national championships and then 10 All-Americans. For the last 3 years, I've helped coach middle school track also at Heritage Christian. And this year I'll be moving up to help out with the varsity at the high school. But listen, when I got into coaching, I made a commitment that I was going to try and live by a motto of you probably heard this before. A coach will impact more young people in a year than an average person does in a lifetime. And I firmly believe that, some people might not be with you for the entire tenure of whether it's at a school or a club, but if you can make an impact on them in that short period of time that you have with them, you did them a service.
Mhm.
So that's how I got into it and why I'm still in it.
Yeah, well, we definitely know you've made an impact because your name has come up with a couple of different athletes we've interviewed. So that's why I
Yeah,
was like, well, we need to get him on here. So,
yes,
Who,
yes.
who, who did it come up with?
well, Hayden brought you up and he was talking about how he just, his 400, how he just broke that whole situation wide open where he could only run, I think it was like a 50, whatever, it was 50 something. And then he just dropped like 2 seconds based on the
I can't take
conversation.
credit. He can't give me credit for that. You know, the cool thing
Nah,
about Aiden
it,
is
he,
he's a
it
guy
was the,
who,
it was the mental component and
Yes,
he
yes,
heard what he needed to hear from you when he needed to hear it,
yes,
and that's
yes.
what took him through in terms of the mental component breaking through to the physical. So
Hmm.
I mean, granted, he's a talented athlete, and there's a ton of talented athletes, but sometimes somebody's got to unlock it,
Yeah.
right.
and
Planted the seed.
that was what
Yeah,
happened with him in particular. So
yeah.
yeah.
I can probably pinpoint the moment too, because you know, it's pretty cool with him and Mason Smith.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a pretty interesting, you know, tenure running against each other the past
Hmm.
year or so. You know, so it's pretty cool at practice. Although I don't really head up like the majority of the training that's happening with them. That's more Val discretion. You know, but the little time that I get to spend with both of them, I'm constantly trying to challenge them mentally to think bigger. Because when you've shown that you can do X, Y, and Z, and you haven't been doing it for that long, man, wait till we start doing what we really got to do and what you're going to end up doing. And you know, just challenging them definitely has been pretty fun for me personally to see how they respond to it as well.
Yeah. So and those are both they're both great kids. So
Yeah.
we've been enjoy we enjoyed talking with them.
Hmm.
So what's your like your philosophy overall when it
Hmm.
comes to training, coaching? How's that evolved since you started coaching? How's it changed? Where's it at now?
I would say it's real simple when it comes to philosophy. I just think that, you know, as a coach, you need to show up every day with the intent to help those athletes get better.
Hmm.
And that comes with being prepared. And I think you need to have a specific plan of action that can take into account, you know, the majority, if not everyone, improving. Can't have 100% success rate, but that's the goal. And I believe in doing it right or don't do it at all.
Hmm.
And you know, if you master the basics first, then you can move on to technical, advanced technical stuff. You know, I don't think that it's smart for a coach to try and start a kid off on advanced technical stuff when their foundation is broken. You know, so I just think it's imperative to try and meet somebody where they're at and truly find out their goals, then their strengths and weaknesses before you start to put together a plan to help them achieve whatever goals they have. Because everybody got different goals. You know,
Right.
somebody might want to get a power four full ride athletic scholarship, and this other person's like, I just want to get faster for this other sport that I'm more concerned with. You know what I'm saying? That's the sucky part we have to deal with when it comes to track. Everybody is not 100% like I want to do this for the rest of my life, but you know, we can make some huge strides and get the most out of our time spent together. But that's from a philosophy standpoint, I just think that it's so imperative to show up every day with the intent to get at least 1% better, and good things will happen. But that comes with preparation, you know.
So, what would you say are key areas that you focus on to prepare your athletes on and off the field?
I would say first starting with relationships. Relationship lead to results. And the first part of relationship is relate.
Hmm.
And I think it's important to relate to the athletes. I try, regardless of if they're like 7 years old or 17, I try my hardest to relate to them. You know, I
Hmm.
might talk to the 7 year olds about whatever's happening in their world and, you know, play with them a little bit while we're in between intervals and practice or whatever. And 17-year-old, that conversation is completely different. They're a little cooler now, if that makes sense, you know. But, you
Hmm.
know, if you don't, at the end of the day, if you don't know the athlete, how can you help them and develop them on and off the track? I think it's important. You got to get to know them. I like to focus on spirit, mind, and body.
Hmm.
And the goal at the end of the day is to try and help them become the best version of themselves in the time that you spend with them.
Mhm.
So I would say those are some key areas of development that I try and focus on personally with athletes that I got the pleasure of working with both on and off the track.
All right. Now, one of the things you said, you were, just to back up a touch, you were talking about you were helping out with the middle schoolers. What is it
Yep.
that you, because we know, I mean, this is our sport, right? So what is it that you see at a young age that is missing from a lot of middle schoolers or those people coming through the ranks from track and field?
Good coaches. I mean, listen, man, I'm gonna be straightforward and honest. These coaches don't know what they're doing. And once I came to that conclusion, I'm like, I'm forced to help coach. Because it's
Yeah.
hard to sit back when you see kids who have the ability to actually do something with the sport
Mhm.
and they're not getting proper coaching.
Okay.
I feel like that's one of the biggest issues. And that doesn't even stop with middle school. That goes through high school too. And it's challenging because the schools are they're held captive because they don't have cash flow to be able to hire good quality coaches. So, some schools have better luck than others, but at the end of the day, majority of the schools, it's these coaches, man. And I'm not sitting here like I know everything, but telling you, as someone who ran track, and I'm looking at what you got going on, these individuals are not being prepared properly. And when you add that to the equation, good things could happen.
And some of it may be that the schools they may not know because we're not most
That too.
track is a sport where it's not the revenue drivers, right? It's not the
Mhm.
football, it's not the basketball in Indiana. It's basketball is everything, right? And then
Right.
football is the big thing. So they may not know enough to even know if they have a quality person or not.
That's definitely part of it.
Yeah. So
They most of the ADs don't even know much about track and field themselves. They don't put enough emphasis into trying to get the right quality type
Mhm.
of individual. So it's unfortunate, but I'm trying my best to help try and play a part wherever I'm at, and then try and help make a mark to help elevate things within this state because there's a lot of opportunity here. It
Right,
truly is.
for sure. So you talked about how you prepare your athletes' mind, body, and spirit. So how to walk us through what that looks like from the start of the season and then preparing for big competitions, right? Because there's always that mental aspect, but it sounds like you cater to everything. So it's a well-rounded balance for the athlete. So walk us through kind of how the beginning of the season looks to the end and preparing with mind,
So
body, spirit.
the bit when it comes to the mental aspect at the beginning and even before the season, you gotta have a conversation with them about what's the outcome that they're looking for.
Mhm.
And helping them try and visualize that happen.
Mhm.
But also keeping it real with them, letting them know in the process of when we're doing the work, hey, guess what? This is not going to cut it because this is what you said you want to do. This is not contributing towards getting to that target that we're setting for what we're trying to accomplish here. So I just think it's important to throughout the season also stop, pause, and reflect on where we're at. And make sure that they know these are the things that we got to do because this is a small window of time, and 4 years go by real quick for somebody. So I think it's important to mentally challenge them too, because I believe if the practice is harder, although you don't want to kill them because there's a dichotomy to this, but if the practice is harder mentally and
Mhm.
physically than what the actual meet will be, they're going to be prepared.
Mhm.
So that's that piece, but I think it is also important to sit down with them, walk them through, coach them through the mental aspect of how do I defeat myself and block out the noise and focus on the things I need to focus on to run my race, stay
Mhm.
in my lane, and not worry about what anybody else got going on. Because you can only control what you got going on. You can't control anybody
Mhm.
else around you. Stuff like that. But some people have more experience than others. So their approach or response to something because E plus R equals O, right? Event plus, response is going to equal the outcome. And, when some individuals have a little bit more experience than others when it comes to how to respond to something, they get a better outcome, and that could be something as small as I ran my first race ever and I didn't get the outcome that I wanted. So I'm not going to show up to practice and continue to work. I mean, it's so interesting how the outcome of something can happen. So I think it's important to remind them throughout the season, before the season, even post season, from a reflection standpoint, so that they can continue to progress. But the mental track, I think, is more mental than physical.
Oh, I would definitely agree there. Quite a bit of it is mental. I mean, 80 to 90%, I would say, is mental, and then there's a 10% that's physical, and that's the part that a lot of people kind of miss out on. Like, oh, I'm afraid of the 400. We all were at one point in time, right? It was
Right.
it was that thing, and then there was that person who's I'm going to run the 400 hurdles in it. Okay, nah, that's a different type of personality.
You're a different person, huh?
Right. After something like that, even though you take care of the mental part of it, right? What is it that you do to kind of along throughout the season to kind of keep your athletes healthy physically, throughout the season?
So I can't do the work for them when it comes to staying healthy physically, but we try and incorporate training that's not beating them down, that's getting them ready to peak at the right time. The biggest thing I think when it comes to recovery, for example, or even nutrition, is because you can't force them to do it. I wish I could. Like, I really wish I can force everybody to ice after every practice or do an Epsom salt bath. I mean, some people body respond a little bit different from one thing to the next. I wish everybody had Normatec where they can do it at their leisure, at home, while they're doing their homework, stuff like that. Cryotherapy. But I think it's a combination of continuing to remind them of when they need to be doing specific things, trying to set up certain things for them, whether it's, structuring practices so that you can get in the right stretch routine, whether it's, before and or after practice, stuff like that. I think pliability is very important for the athletes. I mean, it's a variety of different things that they can do to, enhance their progress so they can continue to get better, but really, what I find myself doing is just constantly reminding them of things that they got to do, whether it's from a nutrition standpoint or, recovery related, if that makes sense.
All right. I didn't hear chiropractor in there, coach.
Well, no. The thing is, I actually believe in that. I go to a chiropractor. I used to go to a chiropractor every week, not as much as I used to. Sienna, she goes to a chiropractor every so often. I believe in that, but sometimes talking to and I recommended it. And there are several athletes on the team, whether it's through SOCA or even at Heritage, where we talked about recommended that to somebody and their parent to, hey, add this to the routine. It's going to help them. I mean, the good old man, sometimes I find myself trying to be a chiropractor with these kids at practice sometimes. When you start going through stretch routines with people, and then next thing you know, they wanted to do it. They want you to do that every meeting. I'm like, hey, man, we got to get this personal trainer over here to knock these things out because I'm a little winded after doing this. You got everybody coming to you trying to get you to stretch them out, But I think chiropractic definitely matters too.
Yeah, I know a good one.
I think we got a few who come and see you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How many people from SOCA come to you?
I don't know right offhand.
You think it's more people from SOCA than any other club?
No.
Really?
It's not more than the Storm, but
Yeah.
I mean, but I coach with the Storm though, so So yeah.
All right, so if you exclude Storm, what about?
Oh yes, excluding Storm,
definitely.
definitely.
All right, so would you give me a hard time?
I just had to mess with you because you
I know.
like glanced over that one. Oh man. So
You
what?
know,
Go
you
ahead.
go. No, I was going to say, Coach, you talked about like you are super excited about this year, and we are as well. So, what's your hope for? You coach middle school, then you have the high school now, and then Soka. So, this is about to be a busy year as always for coaches who coach throughout the entire season into the summer. So, what's your hope for your programs this year? What are you looking forward to? What are some athletes we need to look out for? That you're excited to see all the work that been putting in with you and what your hope is for this upcoming year.
The first one that comes to mind is Kaya Crook. So there's a discrepancy right now with what's going to happen for the head coach position at Heritage that hasn't been finalized yet. But all in all, in some way, shape, or form, Val and Vic for sure, along with myself, will be helping out with things. But man, I really want to see Kaya go out with a bang. I'm excited to see what she's gonna do because last year she did something very special, and this is her final year. She's getting ready to commit, I think, this upcoming Saturday. So to be part of that, I
Mm-hmm.
think we truly have the opportunity to do something and make history.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Soka, it's going to be pretty cool to see the kids who's now moving up
Mm-hmm.
age group wise and how they respond. But also knowing the preparation that goes into place to see, what that's going to look like. But at the end of the day, it's just, let's continue to get better and be the best that we can be regardless of what we did last year. That's over with. We're in a
Mm-hmm.
new season. We got PRs that we're trying to accomplish and goals that we're trying to set, and at the end of the day, continue to get better. But yeah, I mean, starting with school, it's going to be pretty cool to go in and help make an impact. My goal is to try and help that school get a state championship.
Yeah.
They've never had one, and I think we got a really good chance.
You definitely have a arsenal over there. I know you mentioned Kaya, but don't leave Kenzie out though.
Oh no!
Can't
That
sleep
was
on
that's where I
Kenzie.
started. I started with Kaya. On the school. I mean, dude, Kenzie's gonna do her thing too. Kenzie's one of them individuals that people sleep on Kenzie. So I'm excited to see what
Yeah.
Kenzie do. I think we'll have some solid relays, 4x1, 4x4, 4x8. We should definitely have a way better overall squad. The jumps are going to be solid too. Both the vertical and the horizontal jumps. But yeah, I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, we're gonna do the best job that we can do to help prepare them and get them ready for whatever they're trying to accomplish. But if it was up to me, I want to help this school get a state championship.
Yes.
Like I'm the type of person that I'm gonna do something. Let's try and be the best at it. I
Yeah.
don't have time to do mediocre stuff.
Absolutely.
With you. Well, Coach, you have any other questions?
Yeah, I do want to. If we were college coaches, right? And we talked about some people we named Kenzie, Hyatt. Like, who are some other athletes to be on the lookout for this upcoming season?
At the school, my daughter, Sienna, she's
Mm-hmm.
coming. She's been working hard. People don't know, so
Well, we
they'll
know.
know though.
We
She's
know.
coming. I promise. And I ain't just saying that to say that. Like, I'd be amazed. Like, I don't understand. Like, I really don't. But anyways, Sienna, for sure. Olivia, she just broke the school record for cross country. Man, that girl, she got so much potential. Riggle, she's a freshman as well this year. Alana, I think she can definitely make an impact this year, but she's a soccer player too. I think her heart's more in soccer, but she has a lot of potential to do something in track if she truly wanted to. Alana Jordan, that's her name.
Mm-hmm.
And off the top of my head, I can't think of the entire roster. I don't really
Yeah,
know.
you got a lot of
Yeah,
athletes. So,
but I can tell you there's a good amount of middle schoolers that's coming up now that'll truly help out the varsity team. When it comes to the club, man, the first person that comes to my mind is Chloe. I'm excited to see what she do this year. She runs for HSE.
Mhm.
She ran what, 4x4, 200, 400. Chloe Mason's gonna kill it this year, I think.
Mhm.
He's gonna have a great year. I mean, it's so many people. It's like it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
hard
man.
to do
You're
this
gonna have
because
aha
like
moment.
I don't
You're
want
gonna
to
have
leave
aha
nobody
moments
out.
after.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
We
But yeah, I mean it's I'm excited to see what happens this year.
Yeah, we're excited as well.
yeah, I do have another question. I was like when you're dealing with school, you're dealing with club. How are your parents involved in all of this? And how does that work for you all?
Mhm.
The high school, well, the school, the school parent athlete relationship, um, you deal with a little bit more uh, questioning
Mhm.
of things, of my experience personally, not necessarily just with me. I just feel like, the school, they don't have the same commitment level, if that makes sense. So there's a
Mhm.
little bit more trust that's already established, earned, built up. It's a longer season club wise versus school. And then they're exposed to a lot more club versus school when it comes to
Mhm.
track. So I think we got to field more questions and deal with a little bit more of that. And but I mean, the relationship is necessary. Some parents are, they want to be a little bit more engaged with things. I think at the school level, as far as trying to understand. And I don't think it's a bad thing either way.
Mhm.
But my experience personally, the club, they've sat back and like just dropped the kids off, let them get to work. Um, but the relationship is necessary. I think the parents must trust you.
Mhm.
I think that's so important. They must trust that you have their kids' best interests. You know what you're doing, and at the end of the day, you're going to do right by them and help them try and become the best version of themselves in the process. And if they have a concern, I don't think there's anything wrong with ever having conversation, because there will be questions and there will be potential concerns. So the ability to have an open-ended relationship where you can communicate and conversate about things that might be uncomfortable is totally fine. But it's been way smoother with club versus school. And I think middle school parenting relationship will be different compared to high school, because the middle school kids are completely different than high school
Yeah,
kids.
they're like, a herding cat sometimes.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I paid my dues.
You say that's over with, huh? Well,
Literally.
well,
Oh
Coach,
my
we
goodness.
appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, we look forward to this upcoming season. Seeing you both your school team and your club team.
Yes.
Even though we're on the opposite sides, but track is a small community and we all cheering for each other.
All
When you
love.
when you guys get going,
We're working on that. It'll be probably pretty soon here. Yeah, we're almost out, probably right after the holiday.
right?
Mhm.
Probably get going.
But I'm excited. I think it's going to be, not just for us. I just think it's
Yeah,
going to
for
be,
everybody. Yeah,
yeah,
the season for sure.
Yeah.
right. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and
Thank
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we
for
appreciate you
joining.
joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Have a good one.
We'll see you guys. Have a blessed night.
You
Yes, you
too.
too.